How can you change your blood pressure for the good for the long term? This was based upon a question of one of the members that I have. And the comment was interesting because he said, what happens if I change my blood pressure for the good through all your suggestions, but my doctor still won't let me get off blood pressure medication? What do you do? Well, that's a great question. And if you're suffering with blood pressure problems, you're probably coming up against some resistance. Some doctors, very few, and I mean, it's rare to find a doctor that will oppose you doing some of these suggestions that I'm gonna say. But listen, they're out there. So let's go through some specifics. And I have to warn you, this is not gonna be a video where I show you a hack or a 30-second solution to lowering your blood pressure, because I understand you like to watch those videos, but if you're serious about lowering your blood pressure, hang tight with me, because I'm gonna give you an action plan that is going to probably 99% of the time work for you. Whether it gets you totally off blood pressure medication or you can lower the amount of medication is totally dependent upon your age, your overall health, and how much and how willing you are to make these changes. The most important thing, I think, is the mental. You can do this. It's sometimes a big mountain to climb to say that you're going to change your blood pressure, but dagnabbit, you can do this. You can totally change your blood pressure. It's possible. Many people have literally gotten off blood pressure medication through the things I'm going to show you here in this video. And you're probably going to finish the video thinking, wow, that's all I have to do? And the answer is yes, but you have to do it consistently. But the most important thing is this mental thing that, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to change my blood pressure. My doctor said I'm going to be on blood pressure medications forever. And I'll tell you, the reason why your doctor probably said that is because he doesn't believe that you can do it. But I'm here to tell you, it's very possible. You can do it. You just have to put in the work. And most doctors don't see patients that put in the work. Most doctors don't see the big changes that people make in their life when they just put a line in the sand and says, I'm not crossing that line anymore. Most people are just easily influenced. You give them a pill, they take the pill, they're great patients that way and they're customers for life, right? So let's do the first thing. What's the first step that you want to take to start lowering your blood pressure? It's the simplest thing you can do and it doesn't cost you any money. It's you need to start exercising, some form of exercise. Now there's different types of exercise and we're going to go through that right now. I'm going to tell you exactly what to do. You've probably seen videos where high intensity interval training works. You've seen videos where zone 2 training is going to work. There's different intervals, there's Tabata training, and I get all these questions in my office pretty much all the time. So let's cover it in the sense of, let's say you are super overweight, you really are unhealthy, your blood pressure is through the roof, and you're on 3 or 4 different medications and your blood pressure is not going down. Like worst case scenario, which type of exercise do you start with? Well, I can tell you this, you don't start with Tabata or high intensity interval training. Let's just get you outside walking slowly. When you start doing cardiovascular exercise, it's important to build up. If it was weight training, we wouldn't put you in the gym and you start bench pressing 300 pounds the first time. Same thing with cardiovascular exercise. You don't go booming out of the gate with super strenuous exercise. You just start out walking. You do it 7 days a week, not 6. There's no days off. 7 days a week, you go. Now, for people that are really out of shape, what I tell, at least my patients, is get out of the house, have a timer, go 2 minutes that way, and then try to get home in the same amount of time. So you're gonna maintain a certain pace. That's all you need is 4 minutes to begin with. If you can develop the habit of on a daily basis, you're doing 4 minutes, that is the most important start that you can do. The key is If you do it 7 days a week, now you've got a situation where it's in your lifestyle. You just do it. And as you get in better shape, you may start increasing that 4 minutes. So now you go 4 minutes that way, you come 4 minutes back, you're doing 8 minutes. Your goal is to build up to at least a half an hour. You want to build up to a half an hour. If you can start building up to a half an hour, you're a rock star, and you're going to start noticing changes in your blood pressure. There's many benefits of doing this. It's a very simple exercise. It'll increase your heart strength. It'll stimulate your parasympathetic nervous system. It'll help you relax. Very often when you're outside, you're getting sunshine, which helps your body produce vitamin D or D3 that will allow your body to lower the blood pressure. There's many different types of hormonal benefits in terms of growth hormone, testosterone, cortisol. You just need to start with this. Now, let's say that you're not that guy who is 350 pounds and never exercised a day in their life, and they smoke cigarettes and they're on 3 different blood pressure medications. Maybe you can already walk for 30 minutes. Well, now you're just like with weightlifting, you're going to start packing on the weight. You're going to add some resistance. What you would do is you would walk faster. Now, you've probably heard of zone 2 training or zone 2 exercise. What that means is it's the amount of exercise where your body starts to burn the maximum amount of fat for that exercise. You see, what happens is when you start walking, your body's going to start burning fat as an energy fuel. Most of the energy is coming from fats. Some of it's from carbohydrates, but mainly percentage-wise, it's fat. Well, as you walk faster and faster, your body needs more energy, so it starts utilizing more fat as an energy source. Now, if you increase the intensity as time goes on, the amount of fat that's used relative to carbohydrates will start to change. So actually the fats will go down and you'll start burning more carbohydrates the faster and faster you walk and you eventually start running. So when you start running really fast where you can hardly catch your breath, like you can only run for 10 seconds or 20 seconds, you're burning mainly carbohydrates. But when you're walking, you're burning mainly fats. Here's where this is important. As you increase the speed with which you walk, you'll start noticing that you're breathing heavier. And when you're walking at the proper pace, you should be doing this. Watch this. You should be breathing a little bit labored, but you're able to maintain and able to say at least one short sentence between each breath. That's how you know you're working out hard enough to be in zone 2. Now, let's say you can do that for a half an hour. So you're going to build up to that. Then you could start doing things to get in even better shape called intervals. And this is where you would walk or run for about 4 minutes and then back off a little and run easy for 4 minutes. Then run faster for 4 minutes and then back off for 4 minutes. Then as time goes on, you get healthier. You could do 3-minute intervals, 2-minute intervals. The worst, I'm going to say the worst because it's just torture, but the hardest exercise that you could do is called a Tabata exercise, and it only takes 4 minutes. And what you do is you do 20 seconds as hard as humanly possible, and then back off for 10 seconds, 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off. You try to maintain it for 4 minutes, and I'll tell you, I've done it before, and it is awful. It is torture. It is something, when I do it, I literally have to mentally get prepared because I don't like doing it. But there's many benefits of it in terms of it stimulates testosterone, stimulates growth hormone, stimulates your body to utilize carbohydrates very fast. It lowers your insulin. It improves your insulin resistance. It's a great exercise, but you can't do that right away. So the first step, before you start buying supplements, before you start changing your diet, before you start worrying about breathing exercises and stress relief, before any of that, do this first thing and get the habit of exercise. It'll change your life. And this is the first one. So I'm not stringing you along and going to give you the secret to lower blood pressure at the end of the video. This is it. So do that. So let's get into number 2. Number 2 is your diet. Now, the problem with the diet is, depending on what you think you want to watch, YouTube will favor some diet strategies more than others based upon your watch history. Now, your computer is different than mine. Your algorithm is different than mine. So if you ever watch a keto diet video, like a Ken Berry or something like that, all of a sudden on the side of your video, like mine here, I'm watching James Taylor. So now everything here on the side, all the suggested videos are going to be James Taylor. If you watch a keto video, every suggested video is going to be keto. All of a sudden, you're going to start thinking that everybody's on keto, that keto is the only human diet. And you'll buy into that. But then if you watch a carnivore video, then everything's carnivore. If you watch a video on nutrition and it's a vegan video, like Dr. Greger or someone like that, pretty soon your entire feed is going to be nothing but vegan videos, and you're going to think that a vegan diet is the only human diet, right? The problem is it's very confusing. When it comes to diet, we're going to first talk about extremes and then more moderate diets that are more realistic long term, in my humble opinion, if you live a normal life. But if you're that type of person that wants to be very strict and follow the rules and do extreme things, then let's start with the most extreme diet. If you want to lower your blood pressure and change your diet, here's how you're going to do it. Number 1, you're going to go to the supermarket or Trader Joe's or Sprouts or something like that, and you're going to buy a big, juicy ribeye steak. And what you're going to do is you're going to stop eating breakfast, and you're not going to eat lunch, and for dinner, you're going to eat that big, juicy steak, and you're going to eat as much as humanly possible. You can salt it with sodium chloride or potassium chloride or any type of salt that you want, but that's all you're going to eat. During the entire day, you're not going to drink any water. You're only going to drink water a half an hour after you eat that steak, and that's your diet. Some would call that an elimination diet. Others would call it a carnivore diet. I was going to say ketovoric. So there's people that don't, you'll get it here in a second. But you want to do that, here's what's going to happen. Number 1, you're not eating processed foods. Number 2, you're not eating any fruits and vegetables. So you're totally eliminating every carbohydrate known to man. In other words, you're not eating 20 grams of carbohydrate, you're eating 0 grams of carbohydrate. What's going to happen is your body's going to go into survival mode and go, holy crap, what the heck is happening? You're essentially going to be starving yourself of carbohydrates. And as a result of that, your body will essentially be shocked into survival mode, and your body will go and lower its blood pressure. Almost immediately, people that do this carnivore diet, you can notice blood pressure changes within a week. It's pretty amazing. So there's the rest of your life. You buy a steak, make sure it's grass-fed, grass-finished, that the cow was happy before they murdered it, and eat only 1 time a day. Don't drink, don't snack, no breakfast, no lunch. There's your diet. You're welcome. Now, for a lot of people, that's just too extreme. Anytime I've suggested anything like that to a patient, they look at you like you have 4 heads. It's a hard sell. But most people have heard of the next extreme diet, which is keto. Keto is where the majority of your calories come from fat. So we're going to say about 70% is the average of what most people suggest. 70% of your diet is fat. Now, what the heck does that look like? Here's what you're going to do. Number 1, for breakfast, don't eat anything because you're supposed to be not eating breakfast. But if you do want to eat breakfast, you're going to eat eggs, bacon, fried in butter. Sounds delicious, right? But you want to be a little healthier, so make sure the eggs are organic, that your bacon came from a happy pig, that the butter was from a grass-fed animal, and you're not using margarine or anything like that. So you could use olive oil if you want, but most keto people that recommend keto are going to recommend, if you're going to have bacon and eggs, use butter because you want those saturated fats, supposedly. Then for lunch, you can have some sardines, an avocado, and some leafy greens. So that would be your lunch. For dinner, think of what I just mentioned with the carnivore diet. You can have a big steak, maybe some leafy greens, fried in butter, and that would be your meal plan that you would eat. So sounds reasonable, but for many people, that's just too fatty. One of the problems with keto is if you're athletic, people lose weight on this, their blood pressure changes, but if you're athletic and you need endurance, and you need some type of energy to explode in terms of you're a runner, swimmer, cyclist, and you need to be fast and you need to sprint and things like that, you're gonna have a hard time on this diet. But for the most part, if you do just steady state exercises, like let's say an Ironman or something, people have done it. It's not most people's favorite way to do it, but some people that have irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's disease, rheumatoid arthritis, find that carnivore or a keto diet are useful for them. So let's do the third extreme diet that lowers blood pressure. And that is a total plant-based, whole food, vegan diet. So this is a situation where you're gonna do the exact opposite of what I just mentioned, and you will eat nothing but raw plants. You can sometimes steam the vegetables or cook the vegetables, but for the most part, you wanna eat as raw as possible. In this case, you're allowed to eat nuts and seeds, but most of your food is coming from plant sources. So you can eat potatoes in this particular case, you can eat broccoli, you can eat kale, you can eat all types of vegetables, you can eat all fruits, you can come up with recipes to do this, and you can eat beans, which are where you're gonna get your protein from. There's lots of great sources of plant-based proteins, and if you combine them well, you'll often hear that plant proteins are incomplete proteins. This is true. However, you can mix and match different proteins. That's not the subject of this video, but I'm just letting you know that the carnivores have a claim that you can lower blood pressure in a very short period of time. The keto people will say that you can lower blood pressure in the same amount of time. And then there's the mix, there's a ketovore, but that's just splitting hairs. And the vegans are also accurate that if you change from your diet to a vegan diet, you're probably gonna lower your blood pressure and it's going to work. Now, these are the extremes, but is there something more realistic that maybe you might want to try? The answer is yes, and this is the diet that is the most documented in the scientific literature of the best diet, if you want to come up with the best diet. And the answer is, it's actually kind of a mixture of all of them, and that would be the Mediterranean diet. And the Mediterranean diet really has no restrictions. You're allowed to eat breakfast, you're allowed to eat lunch, you're allowed to eat dinner. The majority of the diet will be more plant-based, but it's plant emphasized, not really plant exclusive. So you can eat meat, you can eat chicken, you can eat fish. It's gonna be heavy in olive oil. So most of the fat comes from olive oil or monounsaturated fat. So what does a diet look like? For breakfast, you may have eggs, avocado, and some vegetables of your choice. You can have a piece of fruit as a snack. For lunch, you can have a big salad with all the colors of the rainbow. You can have peppers in it. You can have green beans. You can have broccoli. You can have sprouts. You can have beets. You can have anything you want in that salad with maybe a little bit of chicken, maybe a little bit of tuna, maybe a fish, with a lot of olive oil as the dressing. So it's not Thousand Island you're eating with your salad. It's not remember the Bob's Big Boy salad where it was iceberg lettuce with Thousand Island and those croutons? Back in the day in the 70s, man, that was a salad. but that's not what we're talking about. A colorful salad. For dinner, you may have steamed vegetables like steamed broccoli and a salmon or a trout. And you can have yogurt with some blueberries for dessert. That would be a Mediterranean diet. The Mediterranean diet also, you'll find, lowers blood pressure. So when it comes to a diet, you really have to choose one and stick with it. The more extreme of a problem you have, probably the more extreme solution that you're gonna need. The great thing about diet is there's no gun to your head. You can pick and choose what you want, and you can start with one diet, and then as time goes on, start changing to a different diet. There was a doctor, Paul Saladino. He was a big carnivore guy, and he was part of the carnivore community, and everybody loved him. And then what he found was, after about a year of doing the carnivore, he was a medical doctor, by the way, he started having some problems. Yeah, so he got benefit from it, but then at the tail end, he started having problems and realized that fruit helped him the most. So he eats a carnivore diet, but not really, because he eats like 300 grams of fruit per day, because he does the first suggestion that I mentioned, which was the carnivore diet. I'm sorry, the exercise. So he exercises a lot. That's how he's able to get away with so many carbohydrates. And what you'll find is the more you exercise, the more your body can absorb and utilize carbohydrates. If you're just gonna sit on a couch and do nothing, it's probably best that you pick a diet with the least amount of carbohydrates. And so that would be my suggestion. So that's number 2, change your diet, because that will change your blood pressure. Now, the last thought about the diet, and then we're gonna get to number 3, which I think is very, very important. I should have put it as number 2, but if you notice, whether you go carnivore, keto, whether you go vegan, vegetarian, Mediterranean, you could do South Beach, North Beach, you could do the Zone diet, Atkins diet. You know what's similar between all of them? There is no diet that lowers blood pressure that says you can eat crappy foods that are highly processed. There's no diet that says high fructose corn syrup or canola oil is good for you. There's no diet that says that eating Big Macs every day and following them with a quarter pounder and then going to KFC is good for you. So the real secret behind all these diets is they're more similar than they are different, because they're really taking you off the processed food train and putting you on more natural foods. So let's do number 3. This is mental. There's many ways of dealing with this, and I will put down in the description a great book that you can read that will help you mentally to reduce stress. It's a book by Dale Carnegie called How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. I will also put some supplements down, because I didn't mention that in the dietary aspect, but there's numerous supplements that you can take. I'll just put them down. They're Amazon links, so just go and see if they would be right for you. But let's talk about the mental. The mental is very important, because so many people are flippin' stressed out, and they're doing it to themselves. And so one of the easiest things to do is to start doing either a meditation or a deep breathing exercise every day. This takes 5 minutes. You could do it after your walk or even before your walk. But what you do is you inhale through the nose, out through the mouth, and you spend 5 minutes doing deep, slow, controlled, relaxed breathing. You're not hyperventilating. You're breathing at a rate that's right for you, that will help you relax. This does many things. Number 1, it lowers your cortisol. Number 2, it stimulates your parasympathetic nervous system, which is very important. When the parasympathetic nervous system is stimulated, it allows the blood vessels to relax and dilate better. Number 3, it stimulates the production of nitric oxide, which is a gas that goes inside our blood vessels. And this gas allows the inner lining to relax, and again, allows the blood vessels to become more pliable. So deep breathing is an exercise that you want to do every day. It takes 5 minutes, no big deal. You can do it anytime, but try to do it at the same time every day. So how does it look when you do the breathing? It's very simple. You breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. You inhale with your lungs and your belly as deeply as you humanly can, and that will help you relax. You could take your blood pressure before you do the deep breathing and after the deep breathing, and you'll be shocked. Some people have had their blood pressure, their first number, the systolic, which is most susceptible to stress, drop 30, 40 points in 5 minutes. It's amazing. Now, that seems like it's temporary, and it is, until you do it repetitively over time. If you do this for 5 minutes every single day, over a period of time, your body is going to start to benefit long-term from the deep breathing. Just like exercise has to be done every day, stress relief has to be done every day. Nutrition has to be done every day. You can't do the carnivore diet one time and think that, oh boy, now I'm healthy. Or you can't eat a vegetable and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm a vegan. And now you're healthy and you don't have to worry. These are things that you do for the rest of your life. These are habits, lifestyle changes that make a difference long term. Likewise, if you don't do any of this stuff, by the way, and you're taking blood pressure medications, how long do the blood pressure medications work? Maybe a day. You have to take the blood pressure medications every day for the rest of your life as well. So you may as well choose one thing or two things or three things and do them for the rest of your life. But the mental side is if you can take 5 minutes and cause a relaxation effect, your body's going to be able to control itself and control the cortisol and control the nitric oxide and control the parasympathetic nervous system. It's a fantastic way to live and work. Now, as far as the mental thing too, that will help your mental status, but sometimes you need a little slap in the face of how to deal with problems. And this is where this book comes in handy, because it's got lots of good suggestions of how to deal with problems and how to deal with life situations that are not inherently talked to us about. Many people don't have a parent or a counselor, and you're going to have to be your own counselor. So very often my mantra, many times during the course of a day, is these are first world problems. If you have a roof over your head and food and you're not dying of starvation and you are still above ground, man, you're doing fantastic and you have the potential to improve your life. So what the hell are we complaining about? There's people that are gone. They don't have choices anymore. They're dead. There's people that don't have homes. There's people that are starving out there, and they're not starving because they're doing intermittent fasting. They're starving because they don't have any access to food or clean water. I mean, what the hell are we complaining about? We've got everything. So stop your whining. And so sometimes I have to remind myself of that when I have stress and things like that. Like right now, I'm looking at my office behind the camera, and there's a picture frame that is out of alignment. And I'm a chiropractor, so man, these things bother me. So I'm gonna finish this video in just a minute because my OCD is I gotta fix that frame. That's gonna drive me nuts all day. But it's not, because it's a first world problem. But learning how to deal with stress, learning how to manage problems. One of the best things I've ever learned, and I'll leave you with this, is that I will take a piece of paper, just a simple piece of paper, and draw a line through it and do pros and cons. And very often when I'm just making a decision on things, I'll do pros and cons, and I will come up with different numbers. And very often it's very simple. If there's 20 pros and 2 cons, the decision is made, but not really, because I just get my mind on paper, and simply by writing it out, it reduces stress and makes you think more clearer. Some people just journal, they just write and just let their mind go. That's a very effective tool as well. Sometimes I'll look at a pro and con list and I'll realize that the cons, even though there's only 2 of them, are more significant than the 20 pros, and I'll make a decision. So very often I've learned over the years to trust my gut instinct. Boy, that frame is really bothering me. Now I can't unsee it. So that's what you're gonna have to do. Read the book, buy the book. It's the best whatever it costs, $14 that you'll ever spend on yourself. It's like getting a counseling session for $14. It's awesome. So that's going to be in the link. So in summary, your body can change. If a doctor is telling you that lifestyle changes don't change blood pressure, I don't know what school they went to. Well, I'll tell you, they probably went to a medical school that taught them that when you have a problem, there's a pill for every ill. End of story. Lifestyle doesn't change. Exercise doesn't influence blood pressure. Your diet doesn't influence blood pressure, and your mental health does not influence blood pressure. Just take these medications and come back in a month and we'll do a blood test and check your liver. Make sure that they're not destroying your liver. That's the solution. No, it isn't. You can do this. You can change your blood pressure. I know you can. All you have to do is make simple changes, get going, get it on, and here's the thing. Right here, right side, you want to see how the breathing worked for me years and years ago? Watch this video. No, seriously, watch this, click the video, and then come back and get all the crap in the description. Seriously, this is a great video.